Leadership, a simple concept that moves the world, writes history, and drives the lives of millions of people around the world. This is a story that celebrates our leadership and makes us proud of who we are. Today, Latino Leaders Magazine crosses the path of the same leaders we've been interviewing for more than 18 years, making all of us that work at Latino Leaders Magazine proud of our past and excited about our future. Latino Leaders Magazine is confident that we will continue to inspire the leaders that will write the future pages of our history. We have witnessed the enormous potential and value of Latino leaders. Now, Latino Leaders Magazine wants to continue to serve them by connecting these leaders and thus inspiring the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host and publisher of Latino Leaders Magazine, Mr. Jorge Ferraiz.
Hi, welcome to the 14th edition of the Dallas Maestro Awards. It is my privilege and honor to host you and host these fantastic stories that we have for you. This is a very special year, a very unique year for us, but still, our Maestro spirit is going out there to identify these fantastic leaders, to celebrate and to feel proud of what they have accomplished. In Latino Leaders, we like to say that we are professional storytellers. We have the privilege of having access to many leaders that are fantastic examples. We have also the passion of telling their stories. And we have also the mission to tell these stories to inspire others to become leaders themselves. That's a joy for us in Latino Leaders. Tonight we have fantastic stories and we have great examples of leaders that are gonna make us very proud. And we are gonna feel that the recognition for these leaders is very well deserved. Tonight, I wanna say thank you to our sponsors, those companies that have been supporting Latino Leaders mission for many years. Southwest Airlines, that airline that brings Latino Leaders team to everywhere we go. BMW, a great company with our partnership that we have for the Ultimate Drive Award, which helps us to identify emerging leaders of the future. Children's Health, a great organization taking care of the health of many Latino kids in Dallas. And also Comerica Bank, a financial institution that has been supporting our mission for many years too. So with all this, let me welcome you again to this 14th edition of the Latino Leaders Maestro Awards in Dallas. Let's begin. Leadership is one of the most important characteristics and virtues in humans. Leadership allows for people to say, where should we go? And others to follow. Leaders are the visionaries. Leaders are the ones who maybe create the future. This year, we have a fantastic story about a young leader that has been working not only for himself, but for others in very important missions, like for example, preserving the Hispanic heritage of our culture. Also, working for young people in missions for people in need. This year, we are very, very proud to present the Maestro Award in the category of leadership to Antonio Tijerino.
Thank you, Jorge, and thank you for living out the mission of Latino Leaders Magazine. You and your team connect leaders and inspire the future through your publications and events. Thank you for bringing us together this evening. And to all of this year's award recipients, congratulations. Tonight, we celebrate you. We celebrate your service to our community and your many accomplishments. Thank you for leading with integrity, humility, and heart. I'm Laura Nieto, and I serve as the Director of Community Outreach at Southwest Airlines. While I wish we were together in person, it's truly a pleasure to be with you tonight. At Southwest Airlines, we're more than an airline. We're your neighbor, a neighbor that stands by you in good times and in challenging times. Despite the biggest financial crisis in our company's nearly 50-year history, we've remained steadfast in our purpose of connecting people and championing communities. We've doubled down on our commitment to cleaning and safety through our Southwest Promise and continue to support the impactful work of many of our longstanding partners. It's been an honor to partner with Latino Leaders Magazine for so many years. We've been able to see firsthand the power celebrating Latino success stories can have on inspiring the next generation of leaders. Throughout the years, Southwest has been proud to work side by side with influential leaders of the Latino community, many of whom are recognized through the Maestro Awards, which is why tonight is extra special for us, as we have the opportunity to recognize a dear friend of Southwest Airlines, Antonio Tijerino, or as I like to call him, Tony. Tony is the president and CEO of Hispanic Heritage Foundation, an organization we've been honored to partner with for over 15 years. For nearly 2 decades, Tony has led Hispanic Heritage Foundation, which focuses on education, workforce development, leadership, and culture through service and innovation. Under Tony, Hispanic Heritage Foundation is recognized as a creative, agile, and impact-focused organization, boasting a network of 150,000 vetted 15 to 35-year-old Latinos mobilized in the tech and STEM fields, entrepreneurship, finance, media, and other priority areas for America. Tony also serves as executive producer of the star-studded Hispanic Heritage Awards at the Kennedy Center, which are broadcast on PBS stations. And for anyone who has seen the awards, you know he puts on quite a show. These dynamic programs have been recognized by the White House, United States Congress, Fortune 500 companies, other nonprofits, and the government of Mexico. Tony's speaking, blogs, and media presence have made him a national voice on various issues, including diversity, immigration, creativity, and youth empowerment. His work does not go unnoticed either, as he has been honored with numerous prestigious awards, such as the Otley Award by the Government of Mexico, Army Strong Civilian Award, and Cesar Chavez Award by NHLI, just to name a few. From the individual attention given to the students he mentors, to serving as a thought leader for the Latino community across the country and internationally, the breadth and depth of Tony's influence is widespread. Tony puts his heart in action by serving on numerous boards and committees, including Harvard's Latino Leadership Initiative at the Kennedy School, National Girls Collaborative, Imagination Stage, Disney's Advisory Board for West Side Story, among others. And Tony also co-founded Hispanic Leaders Alliance with the National Football League. As a proud immigrant from Nicaragua, he is a tireless champion for all communities and embraces inclusivity in all aspects of his life. Tony's work is timely, and he takes action to quickly help communities in need, most recently by co-founding the #Mask for Farm Workers movement. On behalf of the 58,000 Southwest Airlines employees, please join me in celebrating Tony's many accomplishments. It is my privilege, and it is my honor, to present the Maestro Award for Leadership to Antonio Tijerino.
I was born in Managua, Nicaragua, and my family moved to Washington, D.C. when I was 6 years old. It was a time of a lot of strife in America in terms of, at that time, there was civil unrest, much like what's happening right now. There was a very different environment than in Nicaragua. There were no palm trees. There was no warmth year-round. It was also very difficult for me because I went from being in my abuelita's garage, that's how she taught kids from the neighborhood, to suddenly being in first grade without speaking a word of English, which is also kind of ironic considering my Spanish is not great now, even though it was my first language and I had to learn English. When I first came to the United States, I didn't feel like I belonged here. When I would go back and visit Nicaragua every single summer, suddenly I was the American version of a Nicaraguan and I didn't belong back in Nicaragua. And then when I got sent to Illinois after Civil War without any papers and kind of just living there, I didn't feel like I belonged there because now I was used to Washington, D.C., and suddenly I was in this very rural setting where it didn't quite fit. And then you adjust. And then I came back to Washington, D.C., because I wanted to go to the University of Maryland, where I was a journalism major. Got more and more involved. I was part of the student, the Hispanic student group, and was more involved also in the community in terms of trying to help our community in terms of teaching English as a second language, in terms of volunteering at different centers, community centers, at clinics, and just trying to do whatever I could to support our community. After that, I worked at Burson Marsteller, a big PR firm, on various clients, and they gave me a real opportunity to learn. It was the first time somebody actually believed in me. I mean, because my guidance counselor certainly didn't, and told me why bother with college. Obviously, the people in first grade that set me back didn't believe in me. And I've always said that there's the two greatest motivators in my life is the person that doesn't believe in me and the person that believes in me. And I'm very fortunate that later on in my career, I had people like Dr. Pedro Jose Greer believe in me and hire me for this job, which I was completely unqualified for. Where I had people like Lisa Quiroz, rest in peace, that believed in me, and others, Raul Izaguirre, and having those leaders surround you that are now close to you. Before, they were just people I heard about or read about. All of a sudden, I'm actually having lunch with Dolores Huerta. And so inspiration finds you if you open yourself to it. And I've been greatly inspired by some of these great leaders over the years. I think my greatest attribute is that I'm able to be vulnerable. And I think there's a real power in being vulnerable. People are drawn to somebody that is willing to ask for help or look for help, and be open to getting help. And I have been a great beneficiary of getting help from people like Dr. Greer and Raul Izaguirre, or even now, I worked on a project with Monica Ramirez, and I greatly benefited from it. Same with Alejandra Castillo or Virginia Case and Marco Davis and Maria Teresa Kumar, and all these people that I've been able to become friends with. I benefit from them. I learn from them. We also are able to collaborate because we have a single focus, which is to help our community move forward, which of course helps our country move forward. So I was working at Burson Marsteller on various accounts. One of them was the Coca-Cola account, and was able to do some really interesting things around World Cup 1994. I had someone believing in me at Burson Marsteller that turned me loose. I was always very creative. I was all over the place, the same way I am now, except suddenly being all over the place was a negative, and all of a sudden 20 years later it's that I'm adaptable, you know, and a lot of other things, flexible. But so I was working on this account, and I then was recruited by Nike and went to Oregon to work at Nike. And then my mom was very ill, and she had cancer, and she was dying here back in Washington, D.C. So I had to come back to Washington, D.C. And someone that I worked with at Burson Marsteller hired me at Fannie Mae Foundation. While I was at Fannie Mae Foundation, I found out about the Hispanic Heritage Awards. At that time is what it was called. It was an awards ceremony at the Kennedy Center that's on TV, which we proudly continue. That is something that I inherited proudly from Elaine Dagan and Rick Bella and this entire group of people and historically before them, Rudy Becerra when he was at the White House with Rudy Bali. These are giants that I'm able to benefit from. That entrusted me with their vision for many years ago. But when I was about to start, it was 2001, right after 9/11. Dr. Pedro Jose Greer, who is the best person I know, he is and this is where I get a lot of my philosophies, were from Joe, where Presidential Medal of Freedom winner, MacArthur Genius Award, just the best guy I know. So Joe was coming in as the chair, the incoming chair, and while I was at Fannie Mae Foundation gave a grant for the Hispanic Heritage Awards at that time to create a youth awards. And so we were part of a team that was working on that, and I would travel to a couple of places, including Miami, with the original group of youth awardees, which I think were one in each of 5 towns, so there were a total of 5. Dr. Greer and I got to know each other a little bit just from that trip, and then he asked me if I was up for this job. I was completely unqualified. I was completely unconnected. I was kind of creative and all over the place, but definitely lacked a lot of the disciplines that one would have in running an organization. I also didn't just want to do the Hispanic Heritage Awards. I wanted to focus on youth. I wanted to focus on leadership and workforce development and the bigger sense of culture, and also filling gaps that we need to fill, that our community needs us to fill. He said that that's exactly where he wanted to go with the organization as well, and said, I believe in you, I will back you no matter what. And so during those meetings that I had, I basically said that this is the direction I wanted to take. I don't think it made others that happy because they were fine with how things were. And Joe hired me, and since that time, he has allowed me to come up with ideas, to come up with concepts, and to kind of work through a different kind of style of leading an organization than has been traditional. It's a great moment to say thank you for this leadership award. I am extremely humbled, but I don't lead our community, I get led by our community. Our impact is as good as the phone call we get and the phone call we make. That's how it works. By being able to take a call from someone and then being able to make a call, that's how you're the catalyst for change and that you're in a position of impact. If I get a call from Mario de la Torre saying, I'm a designer in Los Angeles and I'm trying to sew masks during COVID for a member of our community, do you have any ideas for me? There's power in that he thought of me to call me. And then that I'm able to say, Monica Ramirez is working with farm workers. Let me call her to see what she thinks. And then to be able to call her, and the 3 of us are on a phone call at the same time, hatching out a plan to protect farm workers. And then that I'm able to call Nicholas Gonzalez, the actor, and say, will you be our spokesperson for this? So the 4 of us are on a call, and that program, #Masks for Farm Workers, from that phone call that I took and that phone call that I made, has put 1.2 million masks on farm workers. Wow. We thought 5,000 was going to be the goal. But that's the power, taking the call, making the call, and having someone like Monica Ramirez to lead this effort, having someone like Nicholas Gonzalez promote it, and having somebody like Mario de la Torre have the big, huge, beating corazón to call and say, I want to do something positive for the community. I am in a privileged position to be able to take that call and make that call and have this amazing case study for what action can happen when you collaborate and when you have an open mind and when you're naive and when you're audacious and when you're impatient to make something happen. And I was the least collaborator of that collaboration. I was the weak link. I did the least of all of them. So that's how it should work. Thank you very much for this great honor, and also congratulations to the other awardees who are very, very deserving. I also want to thank Latino Leaders Magazine for the work that you've done in convening Latino leaders, in promoting Latino leaders, and in encouraging us to work together to move the community forward. You play an important role, and I just want to highlight your leadership, Jorge, and your families, because I know it's more than you involved at Latino Leaders Magazine, and we all benefit from it. So you make a big impact on us, and it's really important to highlight your leadership in this.
The category of professional achievement goes to those who understand how their profession have made them leaders. These are people that understand very well the culture of organizations and corporations. These are people that excel in what they do. These are people that get the trust of those around them and they lead. This year, we are very happy and proud to present the category of professional achievement to Stephanie Zapata Moore.
Good evening. My name is Arcelia Acosta, and I have the honor to introduce the next Maestro Leadership Award winner, Stephanie Zapata Moore. I have had the opportunity to work with Stephanie for more than 20 years. Stephanie Moore is the Executive President, General Counsel, and Chief Compliance Officer of Vistra Corporation, an integrated power company based in Irving, Texas. I have the honor of serving as a corporate board member to Vistra Corporation. Stephanie and her team are responsible for ensuring timely and efficient delivery of all legal services, including litigation, corporate and securities transactions, regulatory, labor and employment, and environmental matters. Stephanie is a hard-working, dedicated executive at Vistra Corporation. She also gives of her time to our community. She serves as a board member of Girls Inc. of Metropolitan Dallas, and she also serves on the advisory board of Avance, a long-standing educational organization based in North Texas. Additionally, in 2019, she was the honorary chair of the Dallas Bar Association's Equal Access to Justice campaign, which raises money to support the Dallas Volunteer Attorney Program, which provides pro bono legal services to low-income Dallas residents. Stephanie received her undergraduate degree from Duke University and her law degree from William and Mary School of Law. She and her husband are raising 3 daughters and a son, and in her spare time, she enjoys cheering on her children in youth sports, long-distance running, and other family activities. Stephanie, on behalf of the board of Vistra Corporation, our CEO, Kurt Morgan, and the rest of the team at Vistra Corporation, we congratulate you, and tonight we honor you. Thank you.
Both of my parents are Mexican American. My dad is second generation and my mom is first generation. My mom grew up in El Paso and my dad grew up here in Dallas. And they met when my dad was in the military, in the Army. And he was stationed at Fort Bliss and saw my mom with her sisters and some of her friends and went over and struck up a conversation, and the rest, is history. I have wanted to be a lawyer since I was about 10. And I think people would tell me all the time, you like to argue and you have, kind of that personality, you would be a really good lawyer. And so ever since I was, in grade school, I had always said I wanted to be a lawyer. And even in high school, I sought out a number of things that were related to the law. So I grew up, went to high school and middle school in Tampa, Florida. That was my dad's last assignment at MacDill Air Force Base. And they had a program called Teen Court in Tampa, where local high school students could volunteer and apply to go and represent other juvenile offenders in, kind of low-level, accused of low-level things. And they would be the jury, they would be the kind of advocates for these young people. And then they had real judges who would preside over this teen court. And so I did that for a few years. When I went to college, I was an English major in college. They did not have a pre-law. I went to Duke University. And so there I also did a number of sociology classes that would, kind of have relevance to the law, but I always wanted to pursue things that I thought would further the ability for law school. I just always wanted to do it. In undergrad, I got my teaching certificate, so I was certified to teach kindergarten through 6th grade. Coming from a family of educators, I said maybe if I wanted to take time before I went to law school, I would have something that I could do in that interim period. But that was the hardest work and the hardest job I have ever had is teaching. I mean, I'm so respectful of educators and teachers and the work that they put in. So I did get certified, but then I decided to go straight to law school. And when I was applying for jobs, I sent out resumes, just cold resumes since I was in Virginia. I had sent them to Dallas and to Tampa and ended up getting a clerkship for the summer with a firm here in Dallas that was formerly known as Gardier and Wynn, and now they're have merged with Foley. But I was there, I worked there in the summer, I stayed for about 7 years, and then started thinking, did I want to stay in the law firm or did I want to work in-house at a company? And decided that I wanted to pursue going to a company. So I started interviewing, thought, okay, if I'm gonna leave the firm practice, I wanna pick the right place and find somewhere where I'd have an opportunity to grow. At the time, TXU Corp, which is a publicly traded company, they had just recently started their in-house legal department. So in 2004, they started hiring lawyers rather than using outside lawyers for everything. And so I started with the company in 2005 and then started at an entry-level position, which we call counsel. It's like an associate at a law firm, and worked for, at that time, the retail part of our business and the trading floor, the wholesale trading part. And had the opportunity when we were going private in 2008 to move into the generation side of our business. So with those 3 experiences, I really had worked in all aspects of our business. I got promoted to be a senior counsel, a few years after I had come, and then eventually I was the general counsel of Luminant, which is our generation business. So then we went through a bankruptcy. We were owned by private equity, went through a bankruptcy, and emerged as Vistra. And so that was when I was fortunate enough to be given the role of the general counsel of Vistra. And we rolled up all of our support functions, including legal, to all sit at the parent company versus what we had before, which was individual groups at each business unit. I think one of the most important things is building relationships and being able to understand what your client, what your business partner needs for them to be successful, and trying to find ways that you can help them to achieve their business objectives. Being a support function, like accounting, legal, it's really important to try to add value to the business by helping them advance their business objectives. So I think building those relationships, understanding the business, understanding what your clients are needing to achieve is really critical. I also think that just having and taking an interest in the business and having a thirst to understand the business objectives, and then just really kind of nose to the grindstone, understanding the law, being willing to crack open the book, do some research, but so that you can really understand what the legal issues are. That's how you can add value as an attorney inside a company for your clients. I think, understanding whatever area you're trying to go into. So really, there's no substitute for just work. The hard work of learning, in my case, the law, if you want to be in the finance side, making sure that you understand that area. But so just getting to really know your area so that you know it cold and better than anyone else. That's, I think, number one. I think the other thing is just being willing to do new things and being willing to raise your hand and volunteer for that project that may not be exactly in your area, but just having that eagerness and that willingness to raise your hand and to step up. What I tell young lawyers a lot too is, don't get so involved in your work where you're head down and you're not out there building relationships. You've got to get out there, you've got to meet people. It's important to be excellent at whatever, area you're pursuing, but you also have to take that time to get to know other people, I don't like to say network, but really it's about relationship building. It's about meeting others, getting your name out in the community, and making sure that, when someone is asking someone else about how you perform and what do they know about you, that your name is out there and that people know you. The main thing I do outside of family and work is running. So I run with a running group. We meet 3 times a week, early in the morning, and I love to run marathons. It's kind of my quiet time, my time with adults who are not, my family, who are not my coworkers. So it's kind of my mental regrouping time for running. So that's what I do outside of work and family. And then my family, so I've got 4 kids, and they range in age from 16 to 7, and they keep us extremely busy. My oldest daughter plays club soccer, so we spend a lot of time doing that. My husband is actually a stay-at-home dad, and I am so grateful to him, because really if he was not willing to do that, I could not do the things that I'm doing here at the company. So he was, I met him in law school, so he has a law degree and an MBA, and he was in the workforce for about 15 years and then decided that he wanted to go and stay at home with our kids. So he's been doing that for about 7 years. And then my parents live here in town. They moved from Tampa to Dallas, where my dad grew up. And they came here when my second child was born. So they've been here about 14 years. And then my brother and sister have also moved back here. So we spend a lot of time, several times a week. We're getting together for family dinners. My nephew and my son were in the same class for a few years. They go to the same schools. So it's been really nice having that family connection. And the ability for our kids, my kids and my nieces and nephews to grow up together has been fabulous. Thank you to Latino leaders for this award. I'm honored to receive it and to be in the company of such other accomplished people. I'd also like to thank my family, my husband, Greg, my parents, Bertha and Hanato. I could not be here if not for you. Thank you so much.
Hello. At Avocados from Mexico, we're very excited to join Latino leaders in this celebration of leadership and achievement. We live in unprecedented times, and our Latino community needs leaders who can guide our brands, companies, and industries to innovate, reinvent, and keep growing. Leaders whose example is an inspiration to continue to build a better future for generations to come. Congratulations to all the Maestro awardees for this well-deserved recognition. Felicidades.
Avocados from Mexico. I can't help but smile. I can't help but smile. I can't help but smile.
There are leaders that are happy with their mission of helping others, working for their communities, advancing the environment in which they live, opening opportunities, working for others. That is why, in Latino Leaders, we created the category of community service. We are very proud this year to present the Maestro Award in Community Service to a woman that has been working for more than 30 years, supporting others, inspiring others from whatever positions she has held. It's our privilege to present the award to Monica Martinez.
This year's winner is someone who has made a tremendous impact in our Latino community, not just in inspiring the next generation of Latinas, but inspiring our community as a whole. Her commitment and laser focus is unwavering. Congratulations to our 2020 Maestro winner in the Community Service category, our very own Monica Martinez.
Good evening. I'm Jane Garcia, and I'm here to give tribute to one of the recipients, the Maestro Award given by the Latino Leaders. It gives me great pleasure to talk about Monica Martinez, who I've known for many years. In the corporations that she's worked at, she's always been accessible, making sure that people had access to the resources that were there. She's done an outstanding job in all the markets that she's worked for Comerica. It gives me great pleasure just to be here honoring her because she deserves it so well, and it's so nice to be recognized because people don't know how many people she's mentored. The Maestro Award is so fitting. She's mentored so many young women from our community that have gone out to be very successful. She's been doing it for years. So I think this is such an appropriate award for her, and I thank the Latino Leaders for presenting it to her. Muchísimas gracias y buenas noches.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brent Christopher, president of Children's Medical Center Foundation, which is the fundraising arm for Children's Health. You know, for more than 100 years, Children's Health has been making life better for children all across North Texas. Children's Health is the academic, pediatric, comprehensive healthcare system that families have turned to now for so long. And Children's Health is consistently ranked as one of the very best pediatric healthcare systems in the country. Each year, we have the privilege of caring for over 300,000 unique kids, along with supporting their families around all the different needs that they have when they need care. People often ask, how exactly does Children's Health carry out this mission of making life better for children? And the answer can be summed up in 3 words that all begin with the letter C. First, care. We deliver world-class care at the bedside of a sick or injured child just when they need it most. And that's how people often think about Children's Health, the delivery of care that happens in clinics and in hospital rooms all across North Texas. The second C, though, is cures, because Children's Health is involved in a lot of research that is changing the way we understand about how to treat and potentially prevent pediatric diseases. Finally, the third C is community. In addition to care and cures, Children's Health is working across the community to try and keep kids healthy in the first place, where they live, where they go to school, where they play, so that hopefully they never even have to visit us within the walls of the hospital. Regardless of which of those C's, care, cures, and community you're talking about, we only can carry out this mission to make life better for children with a whole lot of community support. And we appreciate that in all the ways that the North Texas community stands alongside us every day throughout the year. Tonight, we are proud to be able to continue being part of the Maestros Awards for the 4th year in a row. You know, community support and volunteerism is a big part of how we do our work at Children's Health and carry out the mission to make life better for children. And so we are honored tonight to present the award for community service. This year, the Maestro Award for Community Service is presented to Monica Martinez. She is Senior Vice President, External Affairs and National Director of Hispanic Business for Comerica Bank. Congratulations, Monica, on all of your achievements and this well-deserved recognition for your hard work. Everyone at Children's Health congratulates you, and we also pay tribute to the people that you have personally and professionally touched through your work with Comerica Bank, and we're proud to be here to help celebrate with you tonight.
Entrepreneurship. It means starting your own project, being your own boss, be yourself, getting an effective and productive team around yourself. Entrepreneurs need to resist, need to survive, need to grow. Will you be doing that for 30 years? Then you will become a leader in entrepreneurship. This year, Latino Leaders has the privilege and honor to present the Maestro Award in the category of entrepreneurship to Robert Bob Estrada.
Good evening, Latino leaders. My name is Jason Villalba. I'm a former member of the Texas Legislature and the president of the Texas Hispanic Policy Foundation. Tonight, I want to honor a very dear friend, a person who's been a mentor to me and an icon around Texas, Mr. Bob Estrada. Bob, from the bottom of my heart, congratulations. This award is so well deserved. Your contributions across Texas over the last decades have been nothing short of inspirational, not only for Latinos, but all Texans. I'm thankful for your friendship, and I'm blessed to know you, and I look forward to spending some time with you and learning more from you, because you truly are what embodies Texas and the Texas spirit, and I'm blessed to call you friend. Congratulations, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
I was born in Mexico City, Mexico in 1947 because my father was working there temporarily, was stationed there. But shortly after I was born, he was transferred back to Brownsville, Texas, which was my mother's hometown. And my mother was born and raised in Brownsville. She's Mexican origin, but was a U.S. citizen at birth. My father became naturalized and became a U.S. citizen, but he was also born in Mexico City. And so I grew up, Brownsville has always been my hometown. And my parents were very determined for all of us to get the best education we could. My family's motto has always been, to be honorable, that your name is everything. The most valuable thing you have is your good name, and to always live right and do the right thing and follow the laws and the rules. And that has paid off for me in my career to remember those principles and live up to those. That's the main thing that I learned growing up, and the values that have affected my life for many, many years, for my whole lifetime. And that's the same values that I've instilled in my 5 children. And they are all wonderful adults now and have careers and are raising their children with the same kind of values. And if we don't do that across the board, this country is never going to survive without those kind of values. My mother wanted me to be a lawyer since I was a little boy. At first she wanted me to be a doctor, but the first time I saw blood, I fainted. And she gave up with the doctor thing. And she said, well, maybe you should be a lawyer when you grow up. And I got interested in that. And I remembered she would tell me that. And then when I was, I think, in 8th grade in school, we went on a field trip to the federal courthouse to meet with a federal judge named Reynaldo Garza in Brownsville. He was appointed a federal judge by President John F. Kennedy in 1961, and he was the first Latino federal judge in all of South Texas ever appointed by the government. And he's a legend in the legal community in Texas, Judge Reynaldo Garza. And he asked the students, the 8th graders that were in his courtroom, said, how many of you would like to be a lawyer someday? And I put my hand up, and I said, yes, and my mother's told me that. And he says, well, you need to study hard and stay in school and make sure you keep that promise. And that was a big inspiration for me to go on. And it really changed my life when I did get that legal education. It was tremendous. 4 years after I was practicing full-time as a bond lawyer, I got asked is when George Herbert Walker Bush became president in 1989 after President Reagan. And I got a phone call to go work for his transition committee and then to stay and work in the White House as a special assistant to the president, making presidential appointments. and I had to resign from the law firm to go to Washington and work for a year for President Bush, and that was one of the highlights of my life. And from doing that, it made me think when I spent my first year there and had to come back to Dallas to make sure my family was okay. I thought about, do I really want to go back to being just the bond lawyer, or maybe start a bond business doing what I thought was needed a lot? And what I saw the years that I was a lawyer doing these things, I would work for government entities in South Texas, small cities, county governments, school districts, that were not getting the kind of service that they were paying for. The more traditional, older companies that did the bond issuances for those small communities that were all predominantly Latino, they were treated as really second-class entities and didn't get the respect that they deserved. And I thought at that time, if those entities that have to borrow money in the bond market, if they had a Hispanic-owned, bilingual company serving them that is just as qualified as the big boys that were there before us, but would pay more attention and give better service and help them grow, that we would be hired to do their business instead of the old firms that existed before us. And that's what was the beginning of what is now Estrada, Hinojosa and Company of Dallas, Texas, that is going into next year will be our 30th year to be in business. That was the beginning of it, to bring a better service and better results to all those Latino entities that were not being treated properly. And it worked. It has worked fantastically for almost 30 years now. So when we started out, and I started in late 1990, and it took me a year and a half to convince my partner to quit the firm he was with, where he was being very successful, but he finally left that firm and joined me, and it became Estrada, Hinojosa and Company. And Noe Hinojosa and I have been partners for 29 years, and he's fantastic, and he's very good at things I'm not good at, and vice versa, and we're a perfect match together in terms of the skills we bring to the table. It gives me the flexibility to take some time off when I need it for other activities that I'm very involved in, that I like to get involved in. So that's my role today. And I had the great honor in 2001, I was appointed by then Governor Rick Perry to the Board of Regents of the University of Texas system. And of course, I had gone to undergraduate and law school at the University of Texas, and I was thrilled to be on the board. I served for 8 years as a regent, and it gave me a passion for higher education that, take me back to what I said earlier, that I was born and taught from the cradle, you're going to college and you're getting a higher education. And being a regent made me even more passionate about higher education. I'm very, very involved in scholarship funds, raising money for scholarships, mentoring young people who are considering law school or getting an MBA in business school. I'll talk to them. I invite them to come to my office, or I take them to lunch. When someone calls me and says, my son or daughter are thinking about this, would you mind talking to them? And I'm there, and I'll spend all the time in the world to help to mold a young person's future in that way. And I would like to do more and more of that. I'd like to have the free time in the future to go and give guest lectures, which I've done before, to university classrooms, and tell the young students of today how important it is to keep those values that I spoke about earlier. Well, I hope I'm around for the next 10 or 15 years. I have 10 right now. I have 10 beautiful grandchildren, and the oldest one is only 7. I hope that I'll be around long enough to see some of those grandchildren start college and mentor them on their careers. and maybe even live to see some of my granddaughters be happily married, start having children. So that's a big part of my life right now, but I don't see myself just sitting around the house talking to the grandkids or doing nothing else. My plan is, as I'm retired another year or two, to be available, to be on call if I'm needed for something at my company, but have the freedom to travel more. And that's one thing I would like to see more of the world than I've already seen, just because I've always been so busy supporting the family and building the company to really do extensive traveling. So that's part of my plan. I always give credit for all my success to my parents. I mean, it sounds very ordinary to say that, but to the values that I was taught at home by my parents, my mother and my father. My father was the most honest person I ever met in my life. I mean, he would walk, 10 miles to return something that wasn't his if he found it, or somebody lost something, he'd go out of his way to find who the owner was, and just was very, very honest. And he taught us those kind of values. And of course, it cost my parents a lot of money to send us to private Catholic schools when we were all children. But the values that I learned there are a big part of what made the rest of my life. And I owe that to my parents for making the sacrifice financially to pay for that. And there's nothing wrong with public education. I'm a big supporter of public education. I'm a founding member of the Dallas Education Foundation here in Dallas for Dallas Independent School District. And we have to keep public education alive and strong. My wife is on the board of trustees of a charter school that's a public school system. And so we're very involved in that. But again, it's all about the values you learn from birth and the right values, and of course the religious teachings that you learn as a young child. And those have really shaped my whole life and my approach to life and professions, and how I do my business and how I treat other people. And it has paid off very well.
It's our privilege and honor, Bob, to give you these. We're very proud of the work that you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a honor.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much to Latino Leaders Magazine. I appreciate that, and Jorge and all your associates. I'm very grateful for this great honor. What a wonderful award on your part, the Maestro Award. I'm very excited to accept it, and I'm also very humbled to be among the other honorees here this evening that are receiving this award, and all of their accomplishments make me feel very humble, but I'm delighted to be included in this crowd. And thank you again on behalf of myself and my whole family, and best wishes to everyone in their future.
Young leaders have that internal force and motivation, that internal engine that is contagious. Their stories are about courage, are about getting there to accomplish their dreams. This year, we are again proud and happy to partner with BMW to present the Ultimate Drive Award, an award that is meant for young people, for the next generation of leaders that are setting the example for others to come. This year, we have the privilege and honor to present it to Marty Martinez.
My name is Claudia Romo Edelman, and I am the founder of the World Human Foundation. I am thrilled to have the chance to congratulate a dear friend. From spending time with him at the World Economic Forum in Davos this year, where he was able to bring the Hispanic agenda and impress decision makers of the most important global companies in the world. From having him lead panels and bring unity to our leaders through the Hispanic Leadership Summit at the United Nations, running our digital campaign to launch the Hispanic Star campaign to change the perception of our Hispanic community, and now demonstrating incredible leadership and compassion and generosity by leading the Dallas Hispanic Star Hub, bringing relief help to communities that have been affected by COVID. I think there's only one maestro that is the ultimate driver, and that is Marty Martinez. We all know, Marty, that you have a bright future ahead of you, and I cannot be more proud and excited that your achievements are being recognized and celebrated as who you are, a true Hispanic star. Congratulations, Marty.
Hi, my name is Keisha Townsend, and it's a pleasure to be here on behalf of BMW of North America. At BMW, we are committed to showing our support for diversity and inclusion. More specifically, we're proud to continue our partnership with Latino Leaders Magazine, whose mission remains critical in debunking myths and combating negative stereotypes against people of color. 2020 has been a challenging year, I'm sure we all can agree. But it's in these difficult times that we learn about the importance of true leadership. And tonight, we're excited to honor Marty Martinez with the BMW Ultimate Drive Award in recognition of his success as CEO and founder of Social Revolt and the work he is doing to support social causes using digital media. Congrats, Marty, and keep changing the world. Thank you.
I grew up in Southern California. I'm a son of immigrants. Both my mom and dad were born in Mexico. And growing up, I remember as a kid, I valued their work ethic and hard work. You know, growing up with such humble beginnings, I remember really not having a whole lot. My mom worked in the fields, like as a young kid. You know, born from a family of 12. My mom was born in Mexicali and my dad in Tijuana. And you know, my mom would tell stories growing up as a kid when the family had immigrated when my mom was about 5 years old, and along with her, 11 other brothers and sisters. And growing up, I didn't realize how much of an impact that their story would have on me until I got older. And I think a lot of the values that I have today are as a result of my parents and watching them, wake up really early and have these very labor-intensive jobs. And so as I graduated from high school, first in my family to graduate high school, I learned very quickly that I wanted a better life, and I watched my parents sacrifice so much, for my family. And it was imperative that I take advantage of that opportunity of all the sacrifices that they had made. And so I was the first in my family to graduate high school. I was the first in my family to graduate college. I tell people that I knew more people growing up that went to prison and developed drug addiction than I knew people that graduated high school. And I just knew that it wasn't the life that I wanted to live. And I have 5 younger brothers and sisters that look up to me. And it was imperative that I kind of blaze this trail to show them that no matter where you come from, no matter what we've gone through, you can succeed despite the odds. Yeah, so when I graduated college, I moved to Dallas, and I really didn't know a lot of people. And it was important for me to get away from my hometown because I wanted to cut out all the noise, all the distractions, and I just wanted to devote all my time to climbing that corporate ladder. So when I moved to Dallas, I remember I took my last college exam on Friday the 13th, 2011, and I started work that Monday. And in hindsight, I probably should have taken a break, but I was so eager. I go, vámonos, I was just so eager to get to work, and There I was in my first job working for E&J Gallo Winery. I was in their management development program, and I just put my head down and worked, for many years. And I was at the second year of that job, and I learned the importance of leadership. I loved my job, but I had a really bad boss, and I'm sure that's something that everyone can relate to at one point or another in their career. But I just wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy, and it was mostly because I didn't have really great leadership. And I remember waking up one day, it was 5 in the morning. The birds hadn't even started chirping yet. The minute I opened my eyes, I was mad. And I'd probably been doing that for months, but in that moment, on that morning, I just realized something went off. I'm like, why am I so upset? I'm not fulfilled. I just felt like I was just a cog in this big machine, and I didn't feel valued. So I made a decision on the fly. I went to my boss's boss, and I let them know that that was going to be my last day. And I remember my boss's boss thought that I was giving my 2 weeks, and I said, oh, no, you don't understand, sir. Today is my last day. And I turned in all of my stuff, and I had no idea what I was going to do. And I just knew that I wanted to work somewhere where I felt valued and I had like some sort of meaning and purpose. And so I started interviewing different startups, and I started meeting these young founders, mid-20s, and people introducing themselves as, I'm the CEO of this and I'm the founder of that. And I thought, wow, like I didn't know I wanted to be, to start my own company. I just knew that I wanted to work somewhere where I felt valued and I had some meaning and purpose. So I ended up interviewing for a startup marketing agency, and the guy had an agency that he started it out of his apartment. And I remember sitting down with him for an interview at a Witch right here in Uptown, a sandwich shop. And we had a really good interview, and he goes, hey Marty, I like you, but here's the thing, I can't hire you for another 3 months. And I remember sitting back in my chair, and I'm going through everyone that I had interviewed with, and I go, okay, I could stand up, shake his hand, and say, cool, I'll talk to you in 2.5 months. Or I could make him an offer he couldn't refuse. I said, how about this? How about I work for free for the next 3 months? And you tell any startup that. The next question they're gonna ask is, when can you start? So then I started that following Monday, and I worked for free for 3 months, just wanted to learn. And after 3 months, I started getting paid. And that was my first introduction into like marketing, working for an agency. And I learned, the ins and outs of business. And after a year, I thought I was ready to start my own company. And I ended up leaving that startup to start my own company. Plot twist, I was not ready to start my own company. I don't think any entrepreneur ever is. But there I was, the little engine that could. That's how I started Social Revolt. I remember being invited to, it was maybe several years ago when I first got introduced to like the Latino community. Growing up, I was fortunate to convince my parents to move out of the hood to the suburbs, so that I could go to a better school. And I recognize the importance of, you are who you hang around with. And, when I graduated college and moved here, I just wasn't around a lot of Latinos for whatever reason. And I remember my friend, Paula, mutual friend, she had invited me to a high-tech event. And they invited me to speak at it, and it was at JCPenney headquarters. And I remember opening the doors. I didn't really know what high-tech was, I remember opening the doors and walking into this big auditorium, and everywhere I looked, there were successful Latinos, and I didn't know that they existed, because growing up, I never saw what a successful Latino looked like. I'd never touched one. I'd never talked to one. I'd never seen one. And I remember walking in, and there's a bunch of Colombians and Venezuelans and Puerto Ricans and Cubans and Mexicans and Texans, and they're a whole different breed too. But walking in and just being like, wow, like there's an entire community of successful Latinos. And growing up, I didn't have those sort of role models. And as I remember giving my speech at JCPenney, and this guy comes up and approaches me, And he goes, hey, I really liked what you had to say. Here's my card. We should keep in touch. That guy's name, Andre Arbeles. And he had reached out to me and said, hey, I'd love to connect with you sometime, you know? And that's how our sort of relationship started. But, you know, as I got more and more immersed into the Latino community, and it's impacted me so much, you know, I felt like that's my purpose. And as much as I love working with brands and businesses on their digital marketing strategies, you know, interacting with people and being involved with people like Claudia Edelman and being part of the Hispanic Star Initiative, I tell people that work like that, it gives me the energy of 1,000 suns. Like, I wake up every day and I'm so empowered to make a difference because I know that there's other people out there that are like me, that don't have role models and that don't know that successful Latino communities exist. And I feel like that's my life's mission and my life's purpose, is to be that light for other young Latinos and show them that no matter where you come from, you know, anything is possible, and, you know, look at me as being a living testament. And so that's why it just means so much to me. And, you know, being involved with organizations like the Hispanic Star and the Hispanic Executive Council, and then, I mean, Jorge, just being honored, you know, for this award, like, I can't tell you how much it moves me. I remember my first experience with the Maestro Awards was in San Francisco when Andre was being awarded. And I remember sitting in that beautiful venue around the top-notch Latino leaders probably in the world. And I remember him going up and you know, seeing this leader after leader and you tell their story and share their rise to the top. And I remember thinking, like, man, one day, if I just keep working hard, one day that I hope to be named among them. And when I received the email to this, like, it moved me to tears, Jorge. It really did. And I just feel so grateful to be part of this amazing community of leaders. And I feel like it's my duty, you know, to turn around and help the next people in line so that I could, you know, extend to them opportunities that people like Andre and Mark Madrid and Guillermo and Jesse Cortez, you know, have done for me. I see myself as playing a pivotal role within the Latino community. I think I'm sure I'll still have my agency on the side, but to me that's exactly what I think I'll be doing. Is working with some organization like I mean, there's so many out there, like the Latino Business Action Network, or like the Hispanic Executive Council, or the Hispanic Star. Like, I'm confident that is my life's purpose. And I'll be, you know, if I ever have the opportunity for, you know, someone like a Claudia Edelman, or like a Mark Madrid, or, you know, these people working for these amazing organizations, for them to pass the baton to a young person like me, that's kind of where I see myself. I don't know very much about the future, but that much I do know, that I'll be doing something to help advance the Latino community in some capacity. Jorge, I want to thank you and Latino Leaders Magazine for bestowing this prestigious award. And I want to say a big thank you to my parents, my mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters out there. Let this be an example that you can do anything if you put your mind to it and work hard. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your company tonight. It's been our privilege in Latino Leaders to be able to present these fantastic stories to you. Are we proud of these great leaders that have accomplished many things for them, but also for their communities, and have set the example for others to follow? This is our mission in Latino Leaders. How important is to inspire others to become leaders themselves. I want to say thank you to our sponsors again: Southwest Airlines, BMW, Children's Health, and Comerica Bank. Their support is paramount for us. And also to the leaders that have shared their stories. You are making us proud every second with what you do. Thank you very much, and on behalf of Latino leaders, it's been a privilege to host you tonight.